This is American Ground Radio. I'm Stephen Parr with Louis R. Avalone.
Mr. Parr.
Yes?
Did you know that only 2 in 10 Americans know that there are 100 senators in the United States Senate?
2 in 10.
Senate, excuse me. Or that 4 in 10 of us know that there are 3 branches of government and can name each one of them. Or that 21% of Americans believe the sun revolves around the earth.
Wait, what?
Yeah, 21% of Americans believe the sun revolves around the earth. Two-thirds of Americans don't even know the issue involved in Roe v. Wade. 25% of Americans can't name the country that America fought and won its independence from.
Our education system's doing a bang-up job, isn't it?
Oh, wow, fantastic. You know, well, it was Thomas Jefferson that said, if a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be. And
how many Americans do you think know that?
But see, the reason that that's important, the reason knowledge is important, is because knowledge is freedom in a democracy. And for our
you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free.
But for our communities to attract the brightest talent to public service in elected office, we must have a more informed electorate. Because when you have fewer engaged voters, you're going to eventually reduce the pool of talented candidates to a handful of those barely worth keeping in office at all, because they don't know about American history. They don't understand how freedom must be protected.
Ronald Reagan said, if we forget what we did, we won't know who we are. That's part of the problem with America right now, is that too many people think that we are a racist nation because they don't know what we've done. They don't know what we've overcome. They don't know where we were and where we've gone to and where we're heading. And so they buy into lies because they don't have a knowledge foundation that can prevent those lies. You know, there's going back to the Bible, Jesus talked about how you build your house on rock. Don't build it on sand, right? Same thing with the way you view the world, your ideology. Build your ideology based on rock. That's got to be based on facts. It's got to be based on knowledge. But if you don't know anything, then you're building your ideology based on sand.
Well, where are you going to get that information, though? Where are you going to get that information?
Great point.
You've got to get it, by and large, out of books. But we've become a nation of scanners, not readers, because there's no question about it, because we screen every incoming email or Facebook post for relevance and importance, and if we decide to read it, we usually stop reading once we think we've gotten the gist, and then we move on without going any deeper.
This is true.
And we do this because we want to know what's going on, but we just end up reading the summaries of the news or the headlines.
But that's only for the people who actually bother to read. The vast majority of Americans don't even try to read the news. They might watch it on TV.
You know, all those links that your friends share with you on Facebook, 60% of them that are shared by your friends on social media, they've never read the article.
Your friend that shared it, they didn't actually read it themselves.
Never read the article, but they shared it. Why? Because they want to look smart.
I'll promise you, we share on our Facebook pages, we share links on my personal one and on the American Ground Radio page. We do share those links. I do not share them out if I haven't read the whole article.
So when I read the headline, and I did actually read the entire story.
Yeah, but you saw the headline. It got your attention.
It got my attention.
Well, what did the headline say? Florida
Governor DeSantis signs a law affording students the opportunity. And actually,
that's
not
a long headline.
Well, I'm kind of ad-libbing because he's not really affording them the opportunity. It's a law now. You must learn the horrors of communism. Well,
the horrors of communism.
The horrors of communism. Take a listen.
Now, as part of this bill, Florida will create a Portraits and Patriotism library so students can learn about real patriots who came to this country after seeing the horrors of these communist regimes.
So if critical race theory, for example, they want to teach critical race theory in the classroom.
Right.
If critical race theory is half as bad as communism and totalitarianism,
it is.
Shouldn't we be teaching communism about communism and totalitarianism, the history, the horrors of these regimes in not American history, world history?
People aren't going to want to hear this because it will hurt people's feelings. But the number of people who died because of communism is an order of magnitude higher than the number of people who died because of slavery. I'm not saying slavery is a good thing, and I know people will try and say that that's what I'm saying. No, you're ignorant. You're not paying attention to what I actually am saying. You're getting offended by something I'm not saying. But slavery was bad. But consider the number of people who died under communism. Doesn't that make communism worse?
Okay, well, even not trying to make a comparison between the two, I hear your point. But coming back to the subject of, shouldn't we be teaching this? Just like we're teaching civics. So this law, one of the 3 laws that Governor DeSantis has signed, basically expands civics requirements in high school so that students learn not only about American history, but on the evils of communism and totalitarianism.
You've got to learn about Soviet Union. You've got to learn about Cuba. You've got to learn about China. You've got to learn about Nicaragua.
But where are the stories that are being told? The mainstream media is not telling a story, as Governor DeSantis pointed out, of why somebody would leave a place like Vietnam, why someone would leave these countries.
And this isn't old news. This is still going on. There are still people today who will take the door off their bathroom, put it into the Gulf of Mexico, and try and sail on it from Cuba to Florida. They're still doing stuff like that today.
And to ask the question, or to answer the question of why somebody would do that, it's because in much of the world, if your father is a bricklayer, you become a bricklayer. If your mother's a school teacher, you become a school teacher. But in America, people who rise up from nothing is so common that it's so, in many ways, it's unremarkable, but it doesn't get mentioned nearly enough, because the American dream is not as much about material and monetary wealth as it is the opportunity in which every person can attain their fullest potential. And if we are not teaching our young people these stories of why people would risk everything in order to achieve the opportunity that this country offers,
and I think you're missing.
We're cheating them.
You mentioned that if your father was a bricklayer, you're a bricklayer. I think there's actually something worse. If your father died of political persecution, you'll die of political persecution. If your mother died of starvation in a communist country, you'll die of starvation in a communist country. This isn't just about what occupation you have. This is about whether you get to live or not.
And this is exactly what Ronald Reagan said in his 1989 farewell address. He says, we've got to do a better job of getting across that America is freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of enterprise, and that freedom is special and rare. It requires our protection, but in order to protect it, you first have to understand its significance in history.
Everybody listening, you need to go back and watch Ronald Reagan's farewell address from January 1989. It really is one of the most important speeches in American history. It does not get its credit, but the stuff that he said in there, it is powerful and it is life-affirming, and we need to be teaching it to our children.
And I'm just so excited to see Governor DeSantis sign those bills today, because that gives us hope for the next generation.
Let's get into the top 3 things you need to know before tomorrow. Well, California's Governor Gavin Newsom will face a recall election. The California Secretary of State's office said only 43 signatures on the recall petition were removed out of 1.7 million. That's more than enough remaining signatures to trigger the recall. However, there are still several steps of bureaucratic red tape before voters will get the chance to remove Newsom from office. The Department of Finance has until August 5th to estimate how much a recall election will cost. Then the governor's office has 30 days to review that information. Then the lieutenant governor has between 60 and 80 days to call an election. That means it could be December before voters get to go to the polls. Either way, a regularly scheduled governor's election will be held in November 2022.
At first blush, I don't think he's actually going to get recalled, because liberals in California, don't like to pass judgment on anyone, except other conservatives.
Well, the last one of these recalls was won by Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Is Caitlyn Jenner Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Oh, God help us.
Second thing you need to know before tomorrow, the state of Kentucky is bribing people to go back to work. Governor Andy Beshear announced a new program that will pay $1,500 to people in Kentucky just for going back to work. The first 15,000 Kentuckians who accept a job and get off unemployment between July 31st will be eligible for the one-time payouts. Kentucky is still paying people an extra $300 a month to stay on an unemployment, and the Democrat governor does not appear to be planning to cut that off before the federally funded boost ends in September.
Where's he getting the $1,500 to pay people to go back to work?
It's COVID money, baby.
You know, Chris Rock has a routine where, he says people come up to him and ask him for money and they go, well, I'm not on drugs and I'm not this. I haven't been in jail. And he's like, you're not supposed to be on drugs. You're not supposed to be in jail. It sounds like the governor there is giving people money for something they're not supposed to be not doing in the first place. They should be going back to work.
And the third thing you need to know before tomorrow, governors of several states are sending their state troopers to help patrol the border in Texas. Texas's Governor Greg Abbott asked for the help in combating rising crime from the wave of illegal aliens coming across the Rio Grande. Today, Iowa's governor, Kim Reynolds, said she would send Iowa State police officers to the border for 2 weeks. Those officers will join with officers sent from Nebraska, Idaho, Florida. Other Republican governors across the country are also helping.
We're a nation of laws. We say that all the time on this show, and we are not of men.